Welcome back to Therapy Sessions. We are here for episode 21. And after a nice little break, a winter break, a sabbatical, our off season, Chris and I are back, better than ever, refreshed, motivated, Chris, like
Right.
Dio Odengbo. And we're back. So, Chris, what do you got here?
We are now 3 days into free agency. We are 2 days into the league year, and Nick, is the team radically different?
It's different. I don't know if I would say radically different. It's different just because there's different names, there's different personnel. Some players have come and gone, but it's not a whole lot different in the end.
You know when you ask your kids to clean up their room and they just rearrange the mess a little bit?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's kinda what
All
it's
too
like.
well.
But even for the league, it's not that much different. Like you're always excited with the off season of what could be. It's kinda like Christmas, right? Especially free agency. Like, what is Santa gonna bring you? What new players? Things like that. And for this team, for like the last 3 years, with the amount of resources they had in cap space and draft picks, it was like 3 years of a increasing build, right? And this is the year where it kind of levels off because you don't have the cap space or the extra draft capital, and the core is already here. And now we have a core of a top 5 NFL team, a divisional playoff round team. And I think as I came to the realization, Nick, when I was flipping out on you all week about it, that the improvement to this team will be in the actual progression of our young core players rather than the acquisition of aging players from other
Yes,
teams. Correct, Nick?
absolutely. That was my argument. But yes, I agree with you. You and I went back and forth, had a very contested arguments about this very topic throughout the week. And I think we both kind of arrived at what you just expressed.
The caveat to all that, and we'll get into it now before, but hey, Nick, what are you drinking on this Thursday night at 10 p.m.?
Drinking the best here, only the best. Penrose, Goofy Boots, the best in the business. Everyone, you know how we feel about Penrose. Go check it out. Chris, what do you got?
Nick's got the old reliable, but I got the new ski boots. And I'm pretty sure we're getting like 4 or 5 inches of snow Sunday and Monday, so it's appropriate. It's essentially just goofy boots, but I think they use skis to mix it or something, so it's pretty good. Oh yeah.
So you know it's good.
Um, but back to the matter at hand, and the big name that was hovering over the last basically 2 months of this offseason was Max Crosby. And this is a player that I've been talking about really since October, where he was going to be the next in line of disgruntled pass rushers available to you. This is an all pro guy. Nick, have you watched any of his tape? Like just in the
Oh
last,
yeah, he's a wrecking ball.
yeah, it's
He's an
it's the
absolute
arm length and the
animal.
aggression. He single handedly almost beat us in Vegas in
Yep.
October or September, and he would have represented a player bringing in here that would have shot them to the upper echelon of like Super Bowl odds, right? They would have been at the top of the NFC had they acquired him. It also appeared there to be momentum that like there was the Caleb interview. There was a lot of smoke that this may be an NBA style trade where the disgruntled superstar forces himself to his chosen team, right? Um, and that was really riling me up. So it appeared last week with the exit of DJ Moore and the acquiring of a second round pick, which we'll get into. But the cards stars seem to be aligning for this move. So like it's intoxicating when these things are up, man. Checking Twitter, having the having your ears up, right? Looking at all the tea leaves. What's Caleb's liking his posts? He's liking Caleb's posts. Is this gonna happen? And like last so a week ago today, I was flying back from John Wayne Airport in Los Angeles to Chicago, and we had just made the DJ trade.
Airport. Great airport.
Yeah, oh man,
Great
it's
airport.
awesome
Underrated.
airport.
Underrated airport. Yep.
It's beautiful. It's so
Beautiful.
easy.
That's where we fly into when we go out there.
There's like a
That's the best
kick-ass
way to.
diner in the middle of it.
Yep. Way better than LAX.
So I actually bought the in-flight Wi-Fi.
That's how important the off season is, folks. He
I
bought the
I
Wi-Fi.
bought the in-flight Wi-Fi and just refreshed Twitter on my MacBook on the flight every 90 seconds. And I did it for 4 hours. It was the fastest flight of my life because things were going off. We had just traded DJ,
Yeah.
and it seemed like it was possible that we were going to get Max Crosby within the time of my flight.
Right.
And I also would have lost my
Yep.
mind had I gotten off that flight and we made that trade. Like I was in Los Angeles
Would
the
you have
whole
ordered
week.
a Would you have ordered a beer on the plane
No, I
right then and
snuck
there?
my own beer on the plane, Nick. What do you think? I'm a rookie? What are you talking about? Um,
Attaboy. Attaboy. I'm proud of you.
no, I would have gone with a Bloody Mary or something. But I was in Los Angeles all week, soaking up sunshine. I went to Disneyland by myself. Nick was flipping out on me because I was on Haunted Mansion instead of like tracking NFL trades. He's telling me to grow up.
Hey, hey everyone. He's officially a Disney adult. He went to Disney twice without any kids
One
in a 4-day span.
1.5 times.
Okay. Okay.
I gotta tell you something.
My
If you
point
ever
stands.
get a chance to go to Disneyland as a 40-year-old man by yourself, I can't recommend it enough. I have no regrets. It rocked. Everybody I told all week thought I was insane, except one guy who I told, and he told me he did the same thing. And then, you know, but yeah, I
That's hilarious.
highly recommend it. I went on Pirates of the Caribbean 4 times. I went on, I went on
You
Haunted
got the
Mansion. Yeah.
obligatory You got the obligatory picture on the
Space
ride
Mountain.
by yourself
Yeah.
with the random family.
Yeah, they all put masks on because they saw me. Um, I'll tell you something about
That's awesome.
Disneyland though, is you gotta leave to get a beer, which I did, but I went back. Um,
Oh, really? There's no beer served
so
on the
you
premises?
can get it, but you have to go to like a $130 sit down character
Oh,
brunch. Um,
oh
and
man, that would have been
yeah,
the best if you would have done that. You should have done that
I did have a private
by
audience.
yourself.
I had a private audience with Mickey Mouse, and I FaceTimed my family with him, and it was kind of awkward because the mouse can't talk; he can just gesture. Um, but they seem to enjoy it. I'm taking my family in June. Everybody lay off; it's fine. Uh, but yeah, Nick was
Oh man.
really actually yelling at me to grow up and get my head in the game, and that's where we are now. So we are now 3 days into the league year. Nick, I texted you a rough format for this show. So we wanted to talk about Max Crosby, and it appeared that this was going to happen. It goes into um the weekend where then it starts leaking. It's going to be 2 number 1 picks. And then I think we both kind of were nervous with that price because actually in the modern NFL, and when I say modern NFL, I talk about this CBA. So 2011, the league has operated under the same business rules. Everything before that's kind of different. There hasn't been a 29-year-old non-quarterback that got traded for that ever. Are you aware of that?
For 2 first round picks.
Yeah. Khalil Mack had just turned 28 when we got him. So a guy going into his 29
Okay.
season. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
and then
Interesting.
also with that Mack
Yeah.
trade is people forget that we got a second back, which became Cole Kmet.
Right. That was big.
Or
Yep.
maybe even it actually might have been Jalen Johnson. So really it
Right.
ends up being like we kind of traded like a 1 and a 2, but that's amongst the highest prices ever paid for a position player of that age. And then it appeared to be the teams in it with desperate GMs, guys that the worst thing you can have as a fan of a team is when your GM is trying not to get fired because he's not going to be around. Right? It happened to us with Ryan
Right.
Pace.
To pay the price. Yeah.
With Eric DaCosta in Baltimore, that appeared to be the thing. So he had fired John Harbaugh. And when you're the GM, you fire your coach. Now you're on borrowed time. So they make a desperate trade. They trade 2 1s for Max Crosby. And then, Nick, what day did that go bad? Was that 2 nights ago?
Yes, 2 nights ago. That's
So
correct.
Tuesday night, I'm watching a show on Netflix with my wife where like 22-year-old guys date 60-year-old women. I think I can't remember the name of the show off the top of my head, but it rocks. Um, I'm watching the show. I look down and I see it from Schefter. And what's the first thing you do when you see one of these like big breaking things on Twitter? Is you click on it to make sure it's the real Schefter, right?
That's right. You have to check his handle.
Yeah. So
Make sure it's not Adam Snifter or something.
I instantly knew that it was a failed physical because I think a lot of people didn't realize that Max Crosby had his meniscus repaired. Um,
Right.
it's not a common injury, but for us as Chicago fans, you should know that's the Derrick Rose injury, not the first one.
Mm.
The ACL isn't what ended up cutting Derrick's prime short. It was the when he came back and he tore his meniscus. Derek chose to have it repaired rather than shaved. That's why he missed all of 13 and he never totally regained the explosiveness. And that's the injury. That is actually what he had done. Not the difference between like an NBA point guard versus a pass rusher. There's different. Um, I mean, we should actually ask Shane about it, right? Um,
We should. We should get my brother on. I
yeah.
was texting with him.
What did he say?
He said, based on the reporting, he actually correctly called this before the reports came out. He said to him, it sounds like an arthritis problem because of the lack of cartilage. And to him, he said that tells him that there's no concern for the next 2 to 3 years.
Four or
But he said
five.
long term,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a 4, 5, 6 year concern.
He's 29 years old. So if you make this move, you're making it for the next 3 years, and the four you hope you're good with it, right?
Right,
Now, when
right,
we got Khalil Mack at age 28, that dude's still going, right? We
right.
ended up trading him for Jaquan Brisker, who is now off the team and is considerably less valuable than Khalil Mack. So you don't know how these guys react. Max Crosby has played the most snaps in the league at his position. The dude's a maniac. He's a warrior. You don't know, but there is a risk management to that. And then
Mm-hmm.
also in a league now where this cap keeps going up, players aren't changing teams as frequently, they're being re-signed. And by the way, the 2027 draft appears to be the best one in a long time. So teams are like really anxious about giving up those picks. The trade goes off. The trade is rescinded 2 nights ago, and the entire league falls into chaos because Max Crosby is the top available guy, and all these moves have been made with the idea he's off the board. So then me and Nick are freaking out for the last 2 days, arguing while dropping kids off at preschool. Um, like, should we still trade for him? What can you get for him? And as
Yep.
it appears now, Max Crosby will be returning to the Raiders and playing this upcoming year. I don't know. I mean, if you're the Raiders, you have to say that because like you have like you have to get something for this guy. Um,
Right,
go ahead.
right. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's interesting because they're in a tough spot. They're not, the rumor is that they're still sticking to their 2 first-round picks. No team is going to pay that now. I mean, the
No.
price is just it's dropped by virtue of what happened. It has dropped. Um, and then the irony is, if they let him play this year, that's a whole nother year of wear and tear on that knee and on that body. And he's a year older. He's 30 years old at that point. So even after that, you're not getting 2 first-round
No.
picks.
No, that
So they
ship
have 2
sailed.
things working against them. Yeah, yeah,
I would tell you the most likely scenarios that Max Crosby plays as a Raider for the first 7, 8 weeks of the season. And if he is 90% of Max Crosby, if not the full Max Crosby, they will move him at the trade deadline. And at that point, they get that all important 27 pick. So this draft is somewhat similar to like the 22 draft. This is not a strong draft by any means. Like at the top, there's one quarterback, and that quarterback comes when you look at like all the number one quarterbacks over the last decade, that he's in the bottom half of that as far as just like a raw prospect goes. Um,
Right.
Max Crosby will most likely be moved around the trade deadline. So this guy is actually going to hang over us for a while because we are the most logical landing spot for him, which is the young team ready to make a move. And also we have gaping needs on our defensive line. So, you know, that name Nick and I will be talking about the next 9 months until what, Halloween? When's the trade deadline?
Yeah, somewhere, something around that.
Um, beyond Max Crosby though, there really isn't another impact guy that has moved teams. When I mean impact guy, like major gravitational player, I mean, who's the biggest gravitational impact guy that moved teams in this offseason? Jalen Phillips busted out in Miami, right? Like he has a
Yeah.
Achilles tear he's coming off of. Uh,
Maybe
Go ahead.
even, maybe, and this might be a good segue, but maybe even DJ Moore going to Buffalo.
For
I mean,
two.
that it's not a for a second round pick. I
Mhm.
mean, and we can talk about that too, about some of the guys that have left. And you can cue the emotional music and the Sarah McLaughlin. But
It's
we will
something
miss you, DJ.
unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. DJ Moore, this one's to you, buddy.
This is to you, DJ. Certified Packer Slayer. Thanks for all you did, Deej.
I've said it before on the show. I put it on my Instagram and I instructed my kids this. If any of you people ever see DJ Moore in public, buy him a beer or pick up his check.
Yep,
Um, so
absolutely.
we'll get into departures now. The major departure for the Bears is they trade DJ Moore to the Buffalo Bills for a second round pick, which is wildly beyond anything that I thought he would get based on the production this last year and his salary. I thought you'd be looking at almost a straight salary dump where you'd be lucky to get a fourth round pick because teams knew you had to get rid of him. What I didn't predict was the complete dearth of impact veteran players available, which inflated his market with also a couple
Yeah,
of desperate GMs. Billy Bean is in the same position that Eric DeCosta in Baltimore is in, where he just fired an established veteran coach. So now it's on him, right? His clock is
yeah,
ticking
yeah,
and he has to get Josh Allen adult, adult big time targets. Whatever, you want to say about DJ is that remains to be seen. But getting a second round pick for him was totally unexpected, right? Maybe the
yeah,
only real thing that's broken our way in the offseason. We'll get to Dahlman there. But DJ Moore as a major acquisition from another team, right? Like a trade or free agency signing is one of the great moves they've made in the last 25 years, right? Because you want to like kind of look at that. You're looking at Julius Peppers is probably the best one they made. Khalil Mack, right? Those players were massive acquisitions that then became the highest paid player in the league when they got them. Same thing with Cutler. So they made Cutler the highest
yep,
paid player in the league. They made Peppers the highest paid defensive player and Mack, all three of those. DJ Moore and Brandon Marshall are kind of maybe in that same regards. Brandon Marshall got moved out for like legit mental illness and trying to fight fans. Like, do you remember this? Like,
yeah, yeah,
it didn't end
yeah.
well.
I do. No,
It didn't end well at all. And then he had a couple productive years with the Jets and then kind of bounced around. For us to get DJ Moore as part of that trade with the Panthers, to have him come in as essentially the first adult in the room post Ryan Poles teardown, and to have him bring along Justin and then Caleb, and then ultimately leave his mark with the breaking of the Packers will. Nick, we'll
yep,
end with the Packers, right? Um,
yeah,
it's one of the great veteran acquisitions this team has made, and then to acquire a second round pick on the way out is truly like a wonderful thing. Like, man, I think I'm taller than DJ Moore is, but if I ever see him, I look down at him, I'll shake his hand. Um, and really, uh, a lot of guys have left this team. A lot of receivers have, like you, Alshon Jeffrey, because you wouldn't work out and you got fat. That dude will always be welcome here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
We'll 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 always miss him. But yeah, because your son has a DJ Moore jersey, and so does my son.
I saw 3
So
I was at my kid's school tonight, they had, like, a big reading event, and there were, like, 4 kids walking around in DJ shirts and jerseys. There were 2 of them on the lost and found table, right? Like, um, part of that is, like, they only make so many players, like, youth jerseys, and he was the guy. But you
right.
kinda look at some of the moments he had, in '23, that game against Washington, like,
Yep.
maybe the
3
finest
touchdowns.
skill in, like, 260 yards, maybe one of the
Yep.
finest skill position performances the team's ever had. Um, Last year wasn't particularly great. It's where this crack started kinda showing in his player profile of what the team needed. And this year even went down production wise, but at the biggest moments, that
Yeah.
guy buries the Green Bay
Incredible.
Packers, right? So God bless you, DJ
Yep.
Moore. Thank you. But I think the same day that happened is when we lost Dahlman, right? When was that? It was last
It was
week.
very close together. It's all a blur, but it was very close together.
I might have been on Space Mountain when that happened. The
With
Dahlman
another
thing,
family, with your second family.
yeah, one's enough, man. One's enough. That's why I can never get these guys that have affairs or second families. Like, man, like, do you really
Yeah.
need? Do
Yeah,
you really
exactly.
need more? Right? Like,
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
man, the Dahlman thing is, I'm of two minds of it. Is that he was really an important player for this year for Caleb in the growth from year one to year two, is they really need an adult in the room, especially at center, to handle protection calls, to take a lot off Caleb's plate pre-snap. I don't know how good Connor Shelton was with that. He's now the center for the Rams. He doesn't need to do that because Stafford's the quarterback, right? The guy's my age. So that was really good. He wore down physically by the end of the year. His grades went off a cliff. Like the last 6 weeks, every week his grades went down. He was probably playing with something. Like, if I had to guess, the guy hit something with like his neck or something. He's 27 years old, went to Stanford. His wife, I think, is like a PhD, right? This is not a guy that needs football. He made money and he's going to go have a really nice life, right? And
Yep.
on it stinks that we lost him. He did play, he graded out, I think, as the 5th best center in the league. On the flip side of it, we were paying too much at that position. And one thing that has happened in the past week with the players that leaving is we are no longer overextended at non-critical positions, safety, linebacker, center. We were paying at the top of the market at each of those. You shouldn't be paying your center $15 million, right? Let alone 27 Las Vegas.
Right.
So
Right.
the Bears go and they then make a trade for Garrett Bradbury. Garrett Bradbury is a former first round pick of the Minnesota Vikings. He busted out with them. He bounced around. He's got himself to playing essentially league average center. We got him for nothing. He's making $4 or $5 million, which is kind of what you want. And the quarterback has now established himself, right? You can have a league average center when he's surrounded by two of the best guards in the league. So ultimately,
Right.
I'm not saying he did us a favor, but I would really love Deo, Obingo, and Grady Jarrett to talk to Chris Dahlman's wife. Um,
And I will, yeah, and I will say it was interesting. Ryan Poles spoke this afternoon, had a press conference,
Missed it.
and he was, yeah. So you should go back and listen to it
Yeah.
because he understandably didn't want to get into details on Dahlman. He just said how it surprised them. It's unfortunate. Wishes them the best, all that stuff. But he did kind of pause. He kind of paused, and he kind of said, he kind of alluded to the fact that Dahlman had quote unquote some stuff going on. So I'm assuming that's all physical. It's all injury related. But to your point, he was banged up at the end of the year. It's very possible he was way more hurt than anybody knew. And if that's the case, then good for him. You know, had a heck of a career. It was a short career, but he had a good career, made his money, preserve his body. So I just thought that was interesting.
He was he really struggled badly in the LA game. It affected us on short yardage pretty dramatically. Um, so it's like center is usually a position where it's like you just got to get a guy in there, right? And for us to be overpaying that massively in the market there, when we have a giant Caleb extension coming up, we have a Wright extension coming up, we have guys that are going to be getting paid. We were able to reset that position. So in the end, I think it ultimately works out. So we lost DJ, we lost Dahlman. By the way, I think every Pro Bowler on the team is gone, right? Except Tooney,
Yeah,
which is kind of weird. Okay, so
I think
as
that's
far as
right. Yeah,
departures go, Kevin Byard out, Nashawn Wright out, Tremaine Edmonds out, Dahlman out, DJ Moore
Brisker.
out, Brisker. These are all veteran guys
Yeah,
that were making either too much money, their contracts, they were not playing up to their contracts. In Brisker's case, he's a high second round pick. And when you look at what these guys got, so all these guys have been signed by other teams. They've all been signed to very, very modest deals. So the market tells you what they're actually worth. Okay. Tremaine Edmonds for us is making $18 million. Now he's making 12.
yeah,
Byard for
huge
us,
difference.
I think we signed him to a 2-year, 18 million. He got 1 year, 9. So he's kind of in that area. And we actually probably upgraded as far as free safety goes. One of the
Yep,
big things they said was they needed more speed as the defense was slow. Byard
right.
had a hell of a season, but he's 32 years old. He probably runs like a 4.7 or 4.8. So we bring in Kobe Bryant, the blackish Mamba. Um,
Obi.
um, at my kids' baseball practice, whenever they were getting hits, I was having them do the Kobe ISO, right? Kobe Bryant is we bring him in from the Rams or from the Seahawks, Super Bowl champion. He's a pure free safety. He's fast. He's young. He's 27, so he can be part of the core. And they bring him in a very modest deal. I think it gets 12 million. Tremaine Edmonds is replaced by Devin Bush, his former first round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He comes from Michigan. He's one of the fastest linebackers to come out in the last decade. He
Yep,
busted out
super
in
fast.
yeah, that's a middle linebacker is an interesting position because sometimes it takes guys a little while, but he busts out in Pittsburgh. He bounces around. He has a really good season this past year. He graded out at like an 87 in PFF for a full
Yeah,
season, which
he
is
had
an
a good
elite,
year.
which would have been actually quite possibly the highest graded Bear. Frankly, they needed more speed at the position. D-Jack, what's his first name? What is it, DeMarco or DeQuell?
Demarco,
Oh yeah.
Demarco,
Um,
Demarco.
so he's re-signed at a very modest deal, and that's probably going to be your second off-ball linebacker with him. You're probably going to draft one, but you now have two starting
And you still have
linebackers.
we still have TJ, don't we? What are they
Yeah,
going to do with TJ?
he had a traumatic injury in the playoffs, right? So I believe he broke his femur. And this is a
Yeah,
guy that
yeah.
this guy couldn't run with two legs. I don't know what he's going to do with one. Um, he was really, really, really picked on, and the Packers in particular picked on him badly. Uh, Edwards is another guy. Buy that guy a beer. He's from Chicago. He's a Lake Zurich Bear. And
Laid it on the line.
the play he makes, I believe in overtime against the Packers around Christmas, where he stops Malik Willis on like 3rd and 1. That play alone, he paid his freight here, right? So
Yep.
that guy was had a positive impact on the team. But again, we're in a new kind of spot here where it's like we don't really need the leadership guys as much, right? Like we have young players playing well. Like there
Right.
was a locker room that needed adults in it, and they're kind of here. But yeah, it's
Right.
it's Jackson and it's Bush, and then you have your kind of guys behind him. Amen, or is he gone too? Amen, is he gone?
He's
Can't
gone.
remember.
He's gone.
You have
They got a
Hippolyte.
couple other special teams guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hippolyte's still there, and then Sewell's there, and you're going to probably draft one in the top 4 or 5, probably in the top 4 rounds. But
Not
that's what
just anyone.
oh, we'll
Not
get
just
there.
anyone. Jacob Rodriguez, who is going to be one of our guys, we're going to have the pod is going to have
Who's your
a
guy?
list of guys. Who's your guy? And Jacob Rodriguez is going to be one of those guys.
In the secondary, you lose Brisker. Brisker got a $5 million 1 year deal, which is it tells you what the league thinks of him, right? He can't cover. Um, Brisker played the game of his life against the Rams, but that was in like a unique game where he's playing essentially like defense, strong side defensive end for half the game. Um,
Yeah,
don't be shocked if Brisker puts on 15 pounds and eventually becomes a hybrid linebacker.
linebacker.
He's an
Yeah,
extremely
that's
physical
really where he
player.
should be.
He plays with a malignant intensity on the field. Um, he can't cover and he's a concussion case, right? Um, right now, I wouldn't be shocked if actually Hicks ends up just inheriting that position. He's been here. He's played decently well, and safety is a position not unlike center, where it's like you just can't pay for it because the skill set is too common and easily replaceable. Nashawn Wright, what did he get? He got 7 million.
Oh, 5.5.
Yeah.
1 year, 5.5.
So Nashawn Wright's a Pro Bowl
After
corner that gets a 1 year, five and a
Yeah.
half. So what that tells you is the league doesn't value his skill set, because if he wasn't making highlight interceptions, he's getting roasted over the
Right.
field, right? Um, I don't know what they do opposite Jalen. I mean, I'm guessing it's Stevenson. Stevenson's in and out of the doghouse all
Remember,
year.
remember, we're getting Terrell Smith back too.
You know what injury Terrell
He
Smith
was
had?
he was a very promising player before he got injured in the preseason.
I didn't know this. Do you know what that injury was? I thought it was an ACL. It wasn't.
What was it?
It was the Ozzy. It's a patella.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I don't think you can't really count him other than depth. They signed a couple depth guys, but again, this team was too heavily invested in the back four. You don't need a bunch of first and second round picks and highly paid players back there. Those resources need to be reallocated to the defensive line. So the Bears they're not any better. They're not any worse. They've just rearranged some of the kind of non-essential,
They've re-
non-essential veteran pieces, right?
they've reset. They've reset at a lot of positions. Like you were saying, they came back to market on a lot of these positions, like linebacker, safety, right up the middle of the defense, which is important because when you're paying above market at non-premium positions like that, the other areas are going to sacrifice significantly.
After the teardown in 2022, the Bears were faced with this problem where they had all this cap space because they moved the veterans off and had nobody to pay. And it's actually the Raiders find themselves in this position now. It's not a good position to be in like it was in the past because of the way free agency works. You have to spend that money. You have to get to the salary floor. So now you find yourself overpaying at positions just to get these guys like adults in the room. And we're past that. We're frankly past that situation, right? Um, if you look on offense, right, the big kind of gaps that needed to be filled is going to be the left tackle and then some more bodies in the receiver room. So at left tackle, while waiting for Ozzy Trapio, who appears to be the left tackle of the future, to heal a patella injury, they go and they re-sign Braxton Jones, which is pretty funny because they did everything they could to get that dude off out of the starting lineup, right? Like, and now he's back. And then they signed Jedrick Wills from Cleveland, who was a 2020 or 2019 top 10 pick, who plays
Yep.
decently well and then suffers a traumatic injury. I mean, I found out today that he had his like femur attached to something. You got to ask Shane about that one too.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
describe
I'll
it.
ask him. It was like an alignment issue. It was like he was talking today about how it wasn't even a cartilage or a tear. It was like his femur was misaligned with his hip socket, or it was something crazy.
Nick, when I was a little kid, I used to like think there'd be no better job in the world than professional wrestler or football player. And now I realize I think I have the best job in the world. Maybe you in a slight second. Man, like it's brutal, man.
Oh, in terms of injuries,
Just
yeah,
all of it, right? Like I'm pretty sure you
yep.
and I combined make more than Kyler Murray will next year. Um,
life is
it
life is good.
it
Life
comes
is
at
good
it comes at you fast,
without
right?
those horrific injuries.
That being said,
Yep.
I kind of threw my back out a little bit this morning. I don't even know how. I think I did it getting up from the toilet. Um,
You're like you're when you get on the toilet, you're like Adam Schefter.
it's
You're
true.
breaking news left and right.
Have you seen Schefter's new set where he looks like Alex Jones?
It's hilarious.
It's unbelievable that
It's
nobody's
hilarious. Hilarious.
it's outrageous. And what are they? I don't know. Like I'd encourage anybody to look at it. It's really I
Yeah.
expect him to be like talking about MK Ultra and like frogs poisoning people or something or chemtrails. Um
Right.
so
Right.
I do like I actually think my favorite signing of the whole thing is Khalif Raymond. Um
Yeah, he's really good. Yep, I like that one.
he goes into the Zacchaeus role. He's familiar in the offense. He's fast. He's going to help on special teams. Um, I'm all for Ben Johnson guys coming in here. There's kind of an overriding thing is with Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen here. I'm kind of fine with. I trust these guys now, right? I I don't know how much it's known or how widespread this knowledge is, but Ryan Poles, it does not have the final football say in that building anymore. It's actually Ben Johnson, right? If Matt
Right.
Eberflus and Ryan Poles were acquiring Garrett Bradbury, I'd be incredibly skeptical. But now I'm not, man. If Ben Johnson says this guy can do it in the system, I believe him. Um,
Yep.
it maybe a little bit less with Allen, but the way this roster is now constructed is, everybody's in place. The core of the team is all in their mid 20s, and the improvement is going to come not from adding some all pro guys. It's going to come from the natural improvement from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, year 3 to year 4 of your young players. You're now entering year 4 for Darnell Wright, who appears to be a premier tackle in the league. You're going to be entering year 3 for Caleb, who like you can bookmark this. I think Caleb's gonna be on the cover of Madden this year. Watch. Um,
Love it.
who else would it be?
Dio Odengbo.
Oh, a motivated Dio. Oh, bingo.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
you're gonna have natural progression from hopefully a healthy Rome and then Loveland, and Burden year 1 to year 2. That's where your improvement's going to be. And then as far as the defense goes, you're going to have more familiarity with the Allen system and another year of him getting his kind of handpicked guys in, along with hopefully health with Gordon, Johnson, Jarrett, a motivated Dio Dingo. This defense was never healthy all of last year, right? So you hope that some of these guys get healthy. And we'll get into it now, is you are most likely going to bring in an entire draft class on this defense. You're probably going to
Yeah.
be bringing in 4 top 90 picks. That's what this team is going to look like next year. Now, is that a dramatic improvement from the team in January? Probably not. The team in January was 1 play away from the NFC title game. Ultimately they end up being the 5th best team in the league last year, and they haven't been anywhere near that in 15 years. So I think I told you, I brought it up. I don't see one team that's gotten dramatically better. The Ravens end up getting the biggest free agent guy, and it's Hendrickson, but they lost half their roster and their coach. Um,
Right.
the Hendrickson thing, as I dug more into it, actually, I don't think is a great fit. The guy is a piss poor run defender. Teams just run his ass over, and he's like 6'8", 280, which I don't even know how it's possible. Um,
Right. Right.
and if you signed him, you're not bringing in Bush, you're not bringing in Bryant, right? It's him and a bunch of other whatever. It ends up not working out. The other real guy is Jalen Phillips, who it's like that guy's getting a top of the market deal, and it's just the nature of free agency. He shouldn't be. Um, I don't see any team that's dramatically better. The Rams actually are better with the moves they made in the secondary, but again, they are going to be emptying the clip on resources with Matt Stafford coming into the hopefully end of his career for us, right? Um, I mean, you
Right.
should look at some of the roster attrition the Packers are going through, man. That's
It's crazy.
yeah,
What they've lost is crazy.
and that is a reflection of them missing on draft picks and them going and swinging for the fences on the Parsons deal and him going down, right? They're in a pretty difficult situation with the roster. The Vikings are now starting a 9-year-old at quarterback. Um, I so, so I was talking to my associate
Right
Joe.
next to 9.
I was talking all night with my close associate football friend Joe Thornton, who lives up in Minneapolis, and he's had a really tough couple months. Right, he's getting defrauded by his government. His quarterback is JJ McCarthy. His there's riots all out of his house. His GM is getting fired for taking paternity leave. Right, and now he's got JJ McCarthy and Kyler Murray on a $1 million deal. And I was watching Joe talk himself into it in real time tonight at my kids' like library event. I was just having such a fun time with him because you know like crazy it is for us to be able to like look down on other teams' quarterbacks, quite literally in Kyler Murray's case. Um, right? Like and I say this he might put 50 on us, who knows, but I'd be very surprised. Nick, are you afraid of Kyler Murray?
No. No.
Have at it, guys. Enjoy, right? Um, you know, the real team I think that we're looking at this is Detroit. They end up with a last place schedule. Detroit finished last. I think you and I were arguing about this. You didn't believe me. Detroit finished last place in the NFC North at 9-8.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But there's major roster attrition there. That offensive line, which was the centerpiece of the franchise, has atrophied down to basically a Penei Sewell, who is a top 5 player in the league and a bunch of guys, right? Um, Goff is getting no less young and no less special, right? He's really good in the system. Defensively, they're riddled with injury. Um, they beat us twice, you know, so like we got to look at that. But nobody I was a little bit worried Detroit would go after Max Crosby. It made a lot of sense, and they could actually afford him by messing with Goff's contract. They did it anyway. Do you know what Jared Goff's cap hit next year is?
What?
$70 million.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. So you're telling me their window is basically this year. If it's even this year. If it's even still open.
Um, but as far as the NFC goes, man, is there a quarterback you'd rather have than ours?
No. No.
In the entire league, is there a quarterback you'd rather have than ours?
I don't think so. When you when
When
you
you look at the
take age
contract, yeah.
in the contract.
So
Yeah.
it's a new world that we're going to be living in, right? We have the most exciting young quarterback, possibly the most exciting young player in American sports, um, and we have him surrounded by a bunch of 22-year-old freak weapons with an offensive mastermind and a really good offensive line. Like, let's go, let's make it work. And then as far as the defense goes, the defense sucked last year. The defense was the 25th defense in the league. In every category, they were really, really struggled. There were certain games that we played where we literally couldn't stop the opposing team and we're having to go for it on fourth down. If we can get this defense to be the 15th defense in the league, we're cooking with gas. Which, Nick, how do you get this defense to be a top 15 unit between now and September?
You got to hit on some draft picks in the first and second rounds, of which we have 3. And we have 3 picks in the first 60. Am I right on that, Chris?
Yeah, I think we have 25, 57, and 60, and then I think 90, right? So 4 top 100 picks. So typically the way the legal work is your first round pick should be starters, your second round picks should be rotation players as rookies, and then once you get in the third, fourth round, those are going to be depth guys that hopefully grow into starters at like non-essential positions, right? In theory, they should be adding 3 significant guys in the defense with those top 3 picks. And the way this draft works,
Yep.
the way this draft breaks down is it's really, really pretty well stocked with defensive linemen, pass rushers in particular, specifically from like 20 to 40. And they're all kind of pretty valued at the same. So the guy you get at 35 isn't really going to be differently graded than the guy that's at 15. It's not a great draft. The draft has been wonky in the last couple of years with the changes in college football with NIL. Indiana won the national title because they hit a bunch of 23, 24-year-old guys. Like Indiana is almost as old as the Green Bay Packers were last year. They had a bunch of guys who should have been 4th and 5th round picks on practice squads in the league playing college football. It's thinned out the draft a little bit. And where the Bears are now means that they're going to be able to get guys they need to come in right away at the spots they are. So, particular at 25, I think we talked about it today when I was at Whole Foods buying Lunchables. They're going to draft a
For
defensive.
yourself.
No.
For yourself.
The ribeyes for me, the Whole Food Lunchables.
For your for your work lunch.
That's right. No, I had a work lunch at Ella's Pizza Kitchen. Joe Stupak, thank you for buying.
Good spot.
They're going to draft a defensive tackle at 25. I think it's pretty clear. Defensive tackle,
Yep.
specifically next to Dexter, is the biggest hole and the biggest problem in this team. They had a really, really massive problem there this year. They could not stop the run with 4 guys. So there's 3 names that you're going to look for pretty heavily at 25, and that is Caden McDonald out of Ohio State, who he's a monster, 6'4", 330-pound run stuffer. He was a 5-star recruit. Kind of everything you look for. The reason he'd be available at 25 is because the pass rush isn't necessarily there, but you don't need that from him. You have Dexter, which is kind of his bag. Dexter was playing out of position quite a bit last year. They were asking him to play one technique and to stop the run. You have him rush the passer, right? So McDonald would be a really good fit at 25. The other 2 guys would be Peter Woods. He's smaller. He's 6'3", 305. He comes from Clemson.
Like him.
Peter Woods was the number 1 high school defensive player coming out into college, right? So he's like a heavily hyped recruit. He plays 2 years to decent effect at Clemson. This year he was supposed to be maybe a top 5, top 10 pick, and the entire Clemson team went down the shitter incredibly bizarrely. Clemson looked to have like 6 first-round picks on their team, and all of them underperformed. A couple of them will go in the first. They might have 3 or 4. But Woods is one of those guys. So you may be able to get Woods at a discount because of the season. He also didn't test quite like they thought, but he profiles at a guy at 25 where you're just going to put him in as a day 1 starter. The third guy is Lee Hunter.
I was just going to say, isn't Peter Woods more of a pass rush defensive tackle, right? You're going to get some more pass rush out of him. His game is a little bit different from Caden McDonald. Caden is a certified run stopper, whereas Peter Woods is more of a pass rushing tackle.
What made him such a highly sought after prospect is he's totally scheme diverse, right? At that size, you can kind of move him up and down the line. Any team can take him. For McDonald is like, he's a one technique, right? So it's like those players are less valued, but this is a team that desperately needs that. The third guy is Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. He falls between Woods and McDonald in the size range. I think he's like 315, 320. He was dominant in the college football playoff against the run in the team's backfield. There was a 4th guy there potentially named Caleb Banks out of Florida who profiles almost exactly the same as Gervon Dexter, where he was like a 5-star guy. Caleb Banks blew up the combine, had maybe one of the most impressive defensive tackle workouts you may ever see, but he didn't really play much this year. He got hurt. And then, Nick, what came out about him today? He had a broken foot?
He fractured one of his metatarsal, and he fractured it like the day before the combine somehow.
What's a metatarsal?
And then he proceeded, it's a bone in your foot.
Ugh. Yeah.
It's a bone at the top of your foot, and he's an absolute dog because he then proceeded to do all of his workouts at the combine, including the 40.
Yeah.
And not only did he run the
Sub
40, he ran
five.
the 40 in about five flat or just
I think
under
he was
five.
like 4.85
And
or something.
with a broken foot,
Yeah.
it's just insane.
My
No,
point being with these
no.
defensive tackles is there's three of them that fit, and they're going to go between 20 and 40. You have to take one of them at 25. They haven't been this locked into a position in the draft in a while. They've been able to go best player available. That's not the case this year. It has to be one of those three guys. I would be
Can I give you
really
one more name?
give it to me.
And he's probably more of a second round guy. I've seen him late first, early second.
Yeah.
Kristen Miller
From
from
Alabama
Georgia.
or Georgia. Yeah.
From Georgia. Give me your take on him.
Georgia defensive linemen are kind of somewhat difficult to scout and project in the league because they have so many of them. They play them in like waves. So they play really low snap count. This was a thing against Jalen Carter when he came out. Was Jalen Carter was playing like 35 snaps a game at Georgia and he was dominating on them, right? And then once you get that guy up to 50 or 60 snaps, he wears out. He's emotionally fragile, right? So Kristen Miller is a 5-star defensive player from Georgia. He goes in and he doesn't really have a crazy impact because they play so many guys. He's a prototype guy, but there's not a big he wasn't really productive. He's a guy that based on the traits and the pedigree, you think you can drop in there. But when you look at these Georgia defensive linemen, the only one that's really, really hit is Carter. Um, I guess Davis just got paid a little bit. The Packers guy, Wyatt, hasn't done that much. Michael Williams was pretty poor last year. Um, Kristen Miller probably goes somewhere in the second round. It's a guy maybe you look at, but like you don't want to be starting him. He's going to have to play 60 snaps a game, and he didn't do it in college. Lee Hunter played like 80 snaps a game, like in the Big 12, you know? Um, I mean, he's an option, but again, maybe if you have like, if you think Grady is going to be Grady Jarrett again, but I don't think so. You need a guy that's going to come in and start right away. I don't know if it's that guy. Um, you really need another defensive end too. Out of these three picks, you're going to get an end. I would have said like 2 weeks ago that end would have been pretty high up there at 25. You're looking at two guys, TJ Parker and Akeem Messidor. So TJ Parker is the same
Yep.
deal as Peter Woods. They played next to each other on the Clemson line. TJ Parker coming into this year was considered a top 5, top 10 pick. He is less productive this year than last year. He did test well. And he's 6'3", 265. So he's like a prototype guy. It's just that if you take him at 25, he's splitting time with Booker and Sweat, which you need. You need somebody to do that, but you have a gaping hole at defensive tackle. Is Andrew Billings still on the team?
I can't figure that out. I
Yeah,
keep
we got.
hearing that he's gone.
Can you text him for me and find out?
I will. I'll reach out to him.
They cannot come away in April without a starting defensive tackle, right? And it has to just be at 25,
Yeah.
which leaves you you're going to get 3 defensive linemen here coming out, right? In the second round, there are a lot of good ends. You're looking at Gabe Jackus out of Illinois, Romello Height out of Texas Tech. There's a ton of them.
I
You
like
just
Jackus a lot. I think he's the guy.
He's a really good fit.
Power rusher.
He's big, right? So Dennis Allen defensive ends are atypical in that they're huge. He likes them big and he likes them strong rather than fast, to the point where they pack 20 pounds on Austin Booker. Um, Nick, are you comfortable with Austin Booker just being your right defensive end coming into the year and playing 700 snaps?
No, he needs to be a rotational guy.
Maybe he ends up being awesome, right? But it's just not. If you're trying to win the Super Bowl this year, you need another guy in there. Um,
Right.
which then kind of brings us to the linebacker spot. This and safety. This is considered probably the best safety draft possibly ever. Um, It's part of the reason Brisker got $5 million. It's part of the reason the safety market was depressed. Is there's like 10 starting safeties in this draft. Um, there's going to be multiple guys that go in the first round, which is pretty rare. Um, or there's a guy named Dylan Tieneman from Oregon that people were mocking to the
Yeah.
Bears in the second round, but he has maybe the best combine ever for a Caucasian. Um, so you're probably not going to get him, but there's a bunch of safeties in the second round available. And then linebackers, um, do you know who Carson Schweschinger is?
Yeah.
So that's a
Oh, yeah.
second round linebacker out of UCLA that goes to the Browns, and he's the rookie of the year. There's like four guys that profile the same way, very experienced, athletic guys. So the guys you look at for the Bears there are Chase Golday out of Cincinnati, Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech, right? Leadership guys,
Anthony.
athletes.
All right, man. Good stuff. Shall we wrap it up?
What do we got left here for the offseason, Nick? We got what? We're 50 days from the draft.
Yep, we're getting close. And so what we'll probably do is come back in a week or two. Maybe we'll move to an every other week schedule and just we'll start to break down the draft a little bit more in some further detail. But it's been good catching up with everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Chris, what do you want to leave them with?
It's been an interesting offseason. It's been a different offseason. Um, I find myself rewatching highlights and stuff from like the Packer games and stuff and almost making myself cry. And
Yep, same here.
it's like I don't know how we'll ever top last season. And then I remember it's like, wait a minute, like, what would be better is if we were just good the whole year and we knew it, right? Like,
Right,
so,
exactly.
I'll
That's the next step.
I'll kind of just leave it with this, just from this year to the last and how things have changed. Is like I said, I was at my son's school. There was like an event, right? And whenever they have events at my kid's school, they have a big table out front of just a lost and found. Do you guys
Yeah,
have that?
yep, yeah,
Um,
yep,
and I walk by it, and every time I find some of my kids' shit. Um, and then the other thing is like all the kids' stuff all looks the same. So to me, it all seems it. But what was really funny is on that lost and found table, there was like 24 Bears stuff,
that's how
hoodies.
you got the hoodie you're. That's how you got the hoodie you're wearing.
I
That's
got
where you
this.
go shopping.
That's that. So this
That's your
hoodie,
new.
this
That's your new
hoodie,
Costco.
I got from. You remember the story about how I took my cousin to the Rams game?
Yeah,
Yeah, he bought me this hoodie in exchange for it. So thank you, Adam.
that hoodie probably costs more than the tickets.
It's true. It's some sort of really nice brand I never heard of, but it was so awesome. I look on the table and it was all Bear stuff, right? And man, like this team was extremely close to being dangerously irrelevant. And that's the worst thing you can have in sports. And I've said it before. I've been re-listening to old episodes at the gym because it brings me pleasure. And I like hearing the sound of your voice. Um, but like to see kids wanting to be Caleb Williams and all wearing Bear stuff, that wasn't happening like 2 years ago. And this is gonna be a little bit of an uneventful offseason of the rest, but it's gonna crank up in the summer. It's gonna be full on
Yep.
Bear Mania. It's gonna rock. As far as like emergency podcasts coming up, anticipate probably something for the stadium.
Yeah.
That will
Yep.
probably be clarity in the next couple months. I'm thinking it's actually going to be Illinois now. Um, we shall see. Um,
Yeah. It's definitely going to be Illinois.
but what we're looking at now is a young team defending its crown in the division, and how much can they improve from year one to year two. Um, the last point I'll make is that I think I said a couple of weeks ago is the off season you wanted to avoid was the Washington Redskins of last year, where they had a very similar season to the Bears this year, and they went and loaded up on a bunch of expensive veterans, and now they're completely screwed. And they have had the
Yep.
discipline to do that, right? So as much as I complained, it wasn't just to you. I had Charlie Fry yelling at me. Um,
Good.
right?
Hey, fight the good fight with me, Charlie. We got to knock some sense into him.
Look around the league. Who's got it better than us?
Nobody. Go Bears.
Go Bears.